There once was a boy named Nick who did not like his life not one bit. His parents were boring, his brother was stupid, and he was so cool he didn't fit. He had to attend church every Sunday. Why couldn't it just be a fun day? He would sleep in and eat candy for breakfast. He could live his life his own way. In fact, why couldn't his whole life just be one big Nick jamboree, where Nick would be ruler surrounded by servants and money would grow on a tree? The truth was that Nick was too crabby, 'cause he thought that his life was so shabby. He refused to be happy. He would not be pleased until his life was as he thought it should be. Well, one day Nick got his wish. He woke up in bed to find this: a butler named Stephen holding Nick's breakfast, a giant pure gold candy dish. Nick sat up in bed and said, "Hey, what's going on here today? Who are you, and what's that? Where am I at? Is this some kind of trick that you play?" "My name is Stephen, Sir Nick, and no, this is not any trick. I'm here to serve you, your wish my command. Maybe you'd like a pixie stick?" For a moment Nick sat there astounded. For a moment or more his head pounded. A servant? Sir Nick? A breakfast of candy? Then out of his bed he bounded. He frantically looked right and left. This wasn't his room, that wasn't his bed, but oh, what a room and a bed that it was! It was all he had dreamed in his head. Then Nick turned to Stephen and said, "I've a jumble of thoughts in my head. I don't understand how I've come to be here. Where is my room? Where is my bed?" "Well, sir, let me explain just how to this place that you came. You hated your life so badly before that you've taken a ride on the wish train. The wish train takes girls and boys here so they can enjoy all they had wanted but never could have, every wish, every whim, every toy. So you are our next resident. In fact, over here you are president. Do whatever you want, have whatever you'd like. Maybe you'd like a peppermint?" "But where are my father and mother, my cat and my little brother? Are they living here with me too? Are we going to live with each other?" When Stephen said no, Nick was glad. You'd think that he would have been sad, but Nick didn't think his family important. All he'd wanted was now all he had. "This is amazing, too good to be true." He ran to the window. Oh, what a view! A swimming pool, trees, miles of grass. There was even a carnival, too. That first day Nick spent exploring his new kingdom in all of its glory. He loved every inch, he loved everything. Never again would his life be just boring. He watched movies in his own theater. He ate in restaurants with his very own waiter. He had his own bathroom. He had his own toys. He even had his own alligator. The days and nights were a blur, so filled with pleasure they were. He played hockey in his own ice arena. There was nothing better than this, he was sure. It had always been Nick's dream to have everything easy and clean. All was perfect, nothing out of place. It was all as Nick thought it should be. If Nick didn't want, it was changed. If he wanted, he had no delay. No one would dare to say that word, no. There was only one way, Nick's way. For a while it really was fun to have everything under the sun. Then something happened by chance, so it seemed, and a sadness in Nick had begun. He had seen the most beautiful flower. He would pick it, but lacked the power. He was thinking of the flower to give to his mom, but from him all the flowers had cowered. Then he thought of his dad and all the fun they had, playing hockey in the park on second-hand skates. Now it didn't seem so bad. He asked Stephen about the flowers, why from him they had cowered. Stephen said, "Over here you can only think of yourself. Only you are the man of the hour. If you want to give someone a treat, we do not allow such a feat. Yourself you had wanted, yourself you now have. Would you like some more candy to eat?" Nick put the feeling aside, the loneliness growing inside. There were people galore to play with and more. "Bah, who needs family?" he lied. He was happy, of course, he was sure. Any sadness tomorrow would cure, for tomorrow was Christmas and he was the king. Nothing would dampen his pleasure. So Christmas dawned a magical sight. Fresh fallen snow made everything white. Beneath a tall tree were hundreds of presents. Nick gazed at it all, filled with delight. He dove at the pile and tore open the paper. For an hour or more he labored and labored, and of course all he'd wanted was all he'd received. Yet by the last gift the fun lost its flavor. Stephen had stood there and clapped at each gift, proclaimed at each one, "How perfect, Sir Nick!" There was nothing missing, not one thing did he lack. But to Nick there was something amiss. Like a feather floating down from above, Nick realized just what it was. Surrounded by gifts, and each one for him, yet not one had been given with love. He missed his mother's bright eyes, the oohs and ahs of surprise, the thrill of sharing more than just stuff, but sharing each other's own lives. I should be happy, he thought. But try as he might, he was not. It was hard to admit, a shame to be sure, that happiness could not be bought. He could live without some, most of this stuff, though he was sure it would be hard enough. The one thing he wanted that money can't buy was to be the one somebody loved. And love him his family did. Even his brother, maybe he's not such a squid. With all of Nick's moods and his ups and his downs, they loved him just as he is. "You may leave here whenever you like, sir. Remember, we are here for your pleasure. But you may not return to this place again. When you leave, you will leave here forever." Nick was sitting in the middle of his dreams, but were they really all that they seemed? He had all he wanted, could not ask for more. Yet it was not all that he thought it would be. It was odd to be so aware. It was odd to actually care, to need someone here to see all these neat things, someone with whom he could share. Nick spent his last day exploring his kingdom in all of its glory, and wishing his mother and father and brother could have what he was enjoying. So he left and never looked back. He gave Stephen a hug and his gator a pat. There may be times when he'll miss this place. There may be times when it will seem a mistake to have let it go, to have given it up. But now he knows. How well does he know? There's nothing in this world like his family's love.